Hey guys, welcome back to Reserved Investments on YouTube. And today we are going to have a very interesting conversation, and I want to warn you guys, this particular video is going to be dark for some of you. In fact, all the videos in this particular series that I am going to be putting out related to the topic that we're going to be discussing today, which I'll get into in a minute, are going to be along the more dark and depressing side. Because there's something in the antiques and collectibles trade that we do have to talk about. And it's known as the 5 Ds of investing in antiques and collectibles. Now, before I get to these talking points and what they mean and why they're very important to understand and how to mitigate the risk of these 5 things happening to you, especially if you are an investor in the antiques and collectibles trade, we got to begin with a story. Back in the 1990s, I think it was the late 1990s, there was an excellent movie that premiered starring Johnny Depp that was called The Ninth Gate. And in The Ninth Gate, Johnny Depp played a very unethical rare book dealer that goes by the name of Dean Corso. And the movie opens where Johnny Depp's character, Dean Corso, gets a call from a very wealthy estate where the heirs of a rare book dealer or collector are contacting him because the man became incapacitated and they want to sell off some of his holdings. Now, the crux of this is the heirs that are doing this know nothing about the rare book market. So Johnny Depp's character, Dean Corso, goes there and you see the man. He's in a wheelchair. He can't talk. It looks like he's incapacitated in some manner, probably suffered a stroke, but he is somewhat cognizant as what's going on with the events around him. And Johnny Depp's character is able to pretty much buy a couple of rare, very rare, first edition books for pennies on the dollar. And this is why we have to have this conversation. Unlike stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs, even real estate to a lesser extent, if you want to find out what the value of Dow Chemical stock is on 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on a Tuesday, and the stock market's open, which it should be unless it's a holiday, you can easily log in to a brokerage account. You can easily pull it up in real time, and you can see how much that particular security, financial asset is selling for. Same thing's true if you have mutual funds, if you have ETFs, if you have anything in a brokerage account, it's very easy to see exactly what you're going to get for those particular items if you click the sell button. When we talk about real estate, much like the stock market, much like the market for financial securities, is heavily regulated. As such, if you want to buy or sell a house, if you want to buy or sell a piece of property, you can call up a real estate agent, you can call a broker, and they can give you an approximate appraisal of what your particular piece of property is worth or what the going rate for the particular property that you want to buy is. With antiques and collectibles, it is very, very different. Remember, guys, when we talk about antiques and collectibles, we're talking about alternate asset investing. There's no income stream attached to any of these particular items in question. As a result, the market is much more speculative. It's abstract. Remember, guys, these are niche markets. The average individual, whether he's a collector, dealer, investor, speculator, that's going into the market for vintage toys or rare Pokemon cards or rare coins or high-end pieces of art, those markets are very, very small and much more illiquid than that of financial assets, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs. That's where liquidity resides. Even real estate, to a certain degree, is much more liquid overall than that of antiques and collectibles. Now, why are we having this discussion? Because I don't think any of you watching this particular channel right now that took years, decades of your life assembling a collection or investing in these particular objects want to end up like the guy I just told you about in the movie The Ninth Gate being taken advantage of by an unethical dealer because your heirs, your significant others, your wife, your kids, potentially your grandkids, whoever it is, they don't know the value of these particular artifacts that you've been acquiring, or they don't understand how these markets work. Now, to be fair, if we're talking about non-collectors, if we're talking about people who just weren't born with the collecting gene, they don't care about any of this stuff. They just see dollar signs. These are the people that generally are attracted to shows like Pawn Stars, American Pickers, Antiques Roadshow, and the like, because it's all about the Benjamins, baby. If you guys are aware, one of the reasons that they always tout the value of these antiques and collectibles on those shows is because it attracts the average armchair viewer. Where somebody like me, I watch those shows because I just like them. I consider them good entertainment. But I realize that 90% of the information they're spewing is nothing but fluff. It's entertainment. It's not anything that you're going to get any sustainable value out of if you're already involved in the antiques and collectibles trade. Because chances are you understand those markets just as well, if not better in some cases, than those guys. The Pawn Stars, the American Pickers, Antiques Roadshow, and the like. It just depends on what market you're driven to, what market you're a part of when we talk about the entire antiques and collectibles trade. So where am I going with this? If something happens to you, and there's certain things that can happen to you, there's certain predicaments you can find yourself in life, you're going to have to know how to mitigate that risk and navigate it if you are investing in any type of alternative asset classes. And it's not just antiques and collectibles. It could also apply loosely gold, silver, even cryptocurrency. Now, you guys know what I think of cryptocurrency. You guys know what I think of investing solely in gold or silver. Those are markets that I do not like. I, however, do like the antiques and collectibles trade as long as you're investing or diversifying assets into these markets responsibly. Remember, guys, in my humble opinion, the core crux of your investment portfolio, of your well-diversified financial portfolio, should be made up mostly of index-based mutual funds. Index-based, low-cost mutual funds. Not individual stocks, not corporate bonds, not bonds in general, but index-based mutual funds that give you exposure to a well-diversified portfolio of assets. Now, we are going to define what the 5 Ds of investing in the antiques and collectibles trade are. And they are divorce, disease, debt, downsizing, and death. I told you this was going to be a very, very deeply dark and disturbing video. And going even further, this is just an introduction, guys. I'm going to do a video on each one of these topics. Divorce, disease, debt, downsizing, and death. Now, some of you guys that watch this channel on a regular basis, you're like me, you read a lot of books on antiques and collectibles. You may have come across certain books that name this differently. They may refer to it as the 4 Ds of investing in antiques and collectibles. Or I even heard it referred to already as the 3 Ds of investing in antiques and collectibles. Now, the reason why they do that is because they omit some of these categories. I have nothing to fear. I have nothing to run from. I pretty much tell you the way it is. These are the 5 Ds of investing in antiques and collectibles. If you don't mitigate your risk from any of these, if you do something stupid, you are going to put your investment in antiques and collectibles at significant risk. And potentially, you could lose a lot of money in the process. Especially if you or your heirs don't know any better and you run into an unethical person like Dean Corso, played by Johnny Depp in the movie The Ninth Gate. That's why I use that as a prime example. Now, you need to realize, guys, that most of us watching this video, I would say 99.9% of everybody watching this video right now is probably under some form of capitalism. I'm not going to get into a debate here. Well, Sean, the people overseas in Europe, they have socialism. In most cases, the country you reside in, the primary monetary system, the primary economic system that you use is based on capitalism. So let's just agree on that. In capitalism, someone's misfortune is usually someone else's financial opportunity. For instance, you stub your toe. You go to the doctor. Nobody says, hey, I just woke up 6 o'clock in the morning. I think I want to stub my toe, so I get to go see my doctor today. If that happens to you and you end up having to go to the doctor, guess what? Your misfortune is someone else's financial opportunity. You come back from vacation and your HVAC system, your heating and air conditioning system in your house, just kicked the bucket while you were gone. That's an unfortunate opportunity that happened to you that becomes someone else's financial opportunity. You see where I'm going with this? There are certain things that happen to us that we can't always control. And that can lead to consequences later on. For instance, one of the 5 Ds we're going to talk about in depth is debt. A lot of you guys do stupid things with money. You know, guys, I am going to eventually get around to doing a video on this, but the age of easy money is over. Some of you guys are still living like it's 2019, 2020, where interest rates are ultra low. You can go out and you can buy stuff. You can freaking get credit card offers where it's 0% interest for 24 months. Then if you have good credit, if you're a high net worth individual, they give you like 6% going forward. There are credit cards you can get like that if you are really well financed, if you have a lot of money and you have excellent credit. I can assure you, I think I have one that's like 6.9%. That's my interest rate on my credit card. Well, right now, we're in an environment where, hell, you can get 5% just by parking your money in a money market account. And ironically, full disclosure, on that credit card that I have, that's still 6.9%, they never raised the rate. I think they will eventually if the Fed would decide to continuously raise rates. I don't think that's going to happen. I think we're getting to the point where the Fed did its job. Inflation is starting to at least ease. It looks like. Now, where am I going with this? If you guys are still spending money like it's 2019 or 2020, you guys are going to get slapped in the face with a stale donut, especially if you're doing it in the antiques and collectibles trade. You know, there's a lot of markets right now. They took a beating. All right, I've talked about this immensely on this channel. Great at video games. Look at Magic the Gathering. Look at freaking comic books to a certain extent. A lot of you guys back during the pandemic were doing crazy stuff. And I warned you guys that that was in what we call a black swan event. That was part of the pandemic. Boom. The people that were paying those crazy prices were insane. They did not know what they were doing. And we're seeing the results of that today. Just look at some of these videos that I do where there was the Reddit user that said, well, gee, I'm going to lose $69,000 if I sell my comic book collection right now. Well, why did you go after the highest graded copies when they were at all-time highs? It's insane what some of you are doing. So we do have to have a candid discussion about these topics. You know, guys, one thing is certain. Almost everybody watching this video right now, I'm being coy when I say that, everybody watching this video right now is at some point going to die. You are going to have to face the Grim Reaper at some time. And if you don't prepare, your family can easily get taken advantage of because they're not going to know or understand the value of your collection because you are the primary collector. You're the person that put it together. You know why you bought it. You know how much you paid. You know what it's worth. Do you think they're going to have that information and enough hindsight to get market value for that collection if they're grieving your loss? The answer is no. I know this for a fact because I'm a consultant in the antiques and collectibles trade. I deal with this on a regular basis, guys. Now, before I end this video, there is one bright spot here. When we talk about downsizing, you guys are going to see, because this is going to be the first video on these particular talking points that I'm going to put out, because it's not as depressing as talking about divorce, disease, debt, and death. With downsizing can be a choice. And this is something that you got to understand. Maybe you're really looking for another job and you get a job opportunity in a bigger city and you decide to sell your home. You live out in the country, you live in a rural area. You decide to sell your home and you downsize into like a 2-bedroom apartment and you can't take all the stuff that you accumulated. So you willingly choose to downsize some of your antiques and collectible holdings as a result. One of the things that really happens with downsizing is when people get to a certain age, when they start getting up there, when they finally have that particular moment of clarity where they know they're no longer, they're no longer invincible. They're not going to be on the earth in physical form for an infinite amount of time. When they have that realization, usually in their 60s, sometimes in their early 70s, that's when people usually start to downsize. So I want to make this very clear. Downsizing does not always have to be a negative experience. Sometimes it is a positive experience brought on by choice of the individual, just depending on the experiences that he has, depending on what he wants to do next with his life. So that is the one bright spot in this list. But make no mistake, we are going to go forward and we are going to go through each one of these topics because this is something that I don't see anybody in the antiques and collectibles trade. Not just people on YouTube, not the hype-driven content on TikTok or collecting forums, but I don't even see a lot of my fellow peers who write articles for a lot of publications in the trade covering these topics because they're too dark. That's why I have to take you down this proverbial path. So I'm going to walk with you. I'm going to hold your hand if you need me to, but we are going to be discussing divorce, disease, debt, downsizing, and death as it relates to investing in the antiques and collectibles trade. Thank you for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And I just want to warn you, you are going to see these videos premiere probably within the next couple of months on this particular YouTube channel. I have other videos that I want to put out first. And I also want to take it slow with these particular topics. I am going to break them up. And I am going to do original content as well in between these talking points. Because if I would just go and do 5 videos in a row on divorce, disease, debt, downsizing, and death, people would be running for their lives from this channel going, that guy's crazy. Look at how dark and disturbing this freaking YouTuber is. I don't want to put you through that. Remember, guys, your mental health and your emotional health is of the utmost importance. So in passing, given the fact that I just learned that Jerry Springer recently died, take care of yourself and each other. Thank you for watching.